Chapter 81 Spiritual Beast Blood Contract. You are listening at novelfull.audio. No, I will never harm anyone again, you have to believe me, that the Zerg was crying and looking pitiful. Ling Feng held the golden needle and saw that the time was almost up, so he said, "It's not impossible to spare you, but you must make a blood contract with me and stay with me from now on, so that I can be sure that you are really not harming anyone." Blood pact. Zerg blinked his eyes. What is a blood pact? From now on, you have to stay with me, do you understand? Is that so? Then I'm hungry, I can eat. Zerg raised his eyes and looked at Ling Feng. His voice was timid, as if he was afraid that Ling Feng would destroy it because of his gluttony. I won't let you go hungry. Ling Feng raised his eyebrows and immediately agreed. I don't have many friends around me, but I have a lot of enemies. Are I still worried about not having enough food for this little bug? Okay, then I'll make a blood pact with you. Zerg immediately agreed after hearing that he wouldn't go hungry. Ling Feng was secretly delighted. He didn't expect this insect to be so easy to deceive. He remained calm and said calmly, "Okay, I will drive the bond pattern into your body now. Don't resist." Yeah. Zerg nodded quickly, fearing that Ling Feng would regret it and kill it. Ling Feng took a deep breath and squeezed the spirit beast contract hand. He quickly activated his energy and carved a contract mark. He then bit his fingertips and the contract mark merged with the blood, flashing a red light, and then struck. Entered the insect's body. The Zerg looked at the bond mark curiously, without resisting, letting the blood-colored bond mark blend into its body. After a while, the bloody contract pattern disappeared, and Ling Feng felt that there was a vague connection with the worms in his mind, and he could vaguely sense the status of the worms. Ling Feng only used the most common master-servant contract. If it were the advanced contract of the Beast Master, the connection would be even closer, and he could completely control every move of the spiritual pet. Alright. Ling Feng put away the golden needle and saw that the pinhole on the insect was healing rapidly at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the blink of an eye, it was as if it had never been injured. Ling Feng sighed in his heart again. This insect is probably an ancient alien species with very powerful bloodline, otherwise how could it have such heaven-defying abilities? Wow, freedom! The insect flap, with its purple and transparent wings, circled around Ling Feng, and finally landed on Ling Feng's shoulder. It was very honest. This little guy is only the size of a thumb cap, and its whole body is like purple crystal. If it falls on Ling Feng, he will not regard it as a bug at all, but rather like a beautiful metal. Since you are already my spiritual pet, let me give you a name first. Ling Feng looked at the insect and asked, by the way, do you have a name? No, it's just me when I wake up. I don't have a father to care for, and there's no mother to hurt me. Yuwuwa. As he said this, he started to cry loudly. Stop it. Stop it. Ling Feng rolled his eyes. Then I'll call you Zifeng from now on. What do you think? Okay. Zerg nodded repeatedly. Ha, I have a name. Zifeng, from now on you are attached to the clothes on my chest like this. You are not allowed to move around. Without my consent, you are also not allowed to use your ability to communicate with others. People outside may not be so easy to talk to me. If you find out, your life will be in danger at any time. Yeah. Zifeng nodded quickly. Master, I will listen to you. Be good. Ling Feng saw that he had successfully deceived Zifeng, and then he looked at Yu Zhonglian who was sleeping beside him, counting the time. It was almost time for the Xianxia sect leader to wake up. Sure enough, about half a quarter of an hour later, Yu Zhonglian woke up leisurely. Well. Yu Zhonglian groaned. His consciousness fell into nothingness, and he thought he was dead. Unexpectedly, I would eventually wake up again. Opening his eyes, Yu Zhonglian saw a slightly pale face. It was Ling Feng. Excessively activating the predatory eye made Ling Feng very weak at the moment. Originally, the eye of predation could plunder the essence of flesh and blood from the opponent's body and use it for his own use. He would only become braver as he fought, but Ling Feng sealed all of Yu Zhonglian's soul and spirit. He absorbed nothing, so he became so weak. Little brother, this sect. Don't worry, sect master, I have already dealt with the worms in your body. Ling Feng said slowly, I only need this junior to use the life creation needle to complete the vitality map for the sect master, and the sect master will naturally be able to return to his peak state. Yu Zhonglian couldn't believe it. He didn't expect that he actually escaped death and escaped. Little brother, thank you, thank you. Yu Zhonglian's expression was extremely excited. It was not that he was afraid of death, but he still had too many unfulfilled wishes in his heart. Moreover, it is difficult for his sons to take on big responsibilities and support a behemoth like the Xianxia sect. Master, don't talk for the time being, and you shouldn't worry about anything. Take a good rest for a day, and I will come back to give you acupuncture tomorrow. Ling Feng took a deep breath and bowed to Yu Zhonglian, Junior, please take your leave. The first floor of Waterside Pavilion, the sect leader's wife Honglian, Yu Yunlan, Wen Golao, Lu Golao and other senior figures of the sect all gathered in the hall, waiting for the result. In addition, there are two young men in their early 20s, handsome and heroic, also in the hall. These two people are Yu Zhonglian's eldest son and third son, Yu Xianxia and Yu Qinshuan respectively. Ever since Yu Zhonglian contracted a strange illness, most of the affairs in the Xianxia sect have been taken over by the two brothers. The two brothers are busy fighting for power and have no time to take into account their father's illness, but today was a very important moment for Yu Zhonglian, so everyone came here except for his second son Yu Tingfen, who served as General Zhenyuan on the border and could not return to the sect. Honglian holds a string of Buddhist beads in her hand and has been silently praying for the sect leader. Yu Yunlan squeezed Xiaoqiao's arm tightly. Because she was too nervous and used too much force, Xiaoqiao's face turned discolored. Just as Xiaoqiao was hesitating whether to let the lady let go of her arm, a figure finally walked out of the stairs. Aha! That Yu Yunlan immediately rushed out like a gust of wind and asked urgently, how is it, that when Ling Feng saw Yu Yunlan, he wasn't too surprised? He just nodded slightly and said calmly, the sect leader is no longer in danger. Call. Hearing Ling Feng's words, Yu Yunlan was obviously relieved. Because she was too excited, she grabbed Ling Feng's hands and said excitedly, great, great. The sect master's wife also cried with joy, thank God, it's great, it's great. This kid, ha ha ha, I really saw you right, that when Tingguang burst out laughing. He was still a little worried at first, but now he finally let go of his worries. When Yu Qianxia and Yu Qinshuan heard the news, their hearts were somewhat complicated, their position of power made them somewhat lost, but they were not so exaggerated in expecting their father to die, knowing that their father can be cured, their ambitions can only be tempered temporarily. Ling Feng was caught suddenly by Yu Yunlan. He was really caught off guard. His face became a little embarrassed. He coughed dryly and said, miss you, you. Ah, not only then did Yu Yunlan realize her gaffe, and quickly let go of Ling Feng, took a few steps back, covered her face and looked past Ling Feng, saying shyly, I'll go up and see my father first. After saying that, he rushed upstairs as if running away. Chapter 82 Miracle Dr. Ling. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Master Ling, thank you so much for your wonderful rejuvenation and rescuing the sect leader. The sect master's wife moved lightly with lotus steps and walked to Ling Feng, filled with happiness. It is the duty of a doctor to treat diseases and save people. Ling Feng said calmly, the sect master is resting up there. You can go and visit the sect master. But it is best not to let the sect master talk too much. I will perform acupuncture for him tomorrow. Repair the vitality map. Master Lao Ling is here. The sect leader's wife nodded slightly, turned around and glanced at Wen Tingguang, and said warmly, Mr. Wengu, I'm afraid that Master Ling has been very tired these days. Please arrange for him to stay in the west wing first. The sect master's wife also saw that Ling Feng's face was a little pale. She thought he was so weak only because he had devoted himself to treating the sect master's illness, and she was even more grateful in her heart. Yes. Wen Tingguang stepped forward quickly and said with a smile, Boy, no, little miracle Dr. Ling, please come with me. Ling Feng also felt that his eyelids were trembling, and his mind was dizzy. The side effects of depleting his energy began to show up, when Tingguang stepped forward to support Ling Feng. Since you are so devoted to the sect master, I will give you a hand today. You need to know what kind of status he, Mr. Wengu, has in the Xianxia sect. Most people don't get such treatment. Brothers Xianxia and Tianxuan also stepped forward and bowed their hands to Ling Feng, saying in unison, "Thank you, Mr. Ling, for getting rid of father's strange disease." Polite. Ling Feng was really sleepy, so he just nodded slightly towards them, and then walked towards the west wing with Tingguang's support. Ling Feng slept until dusk, then woke up. Before Tingguang left, he did not hesitate to waste his own energy to restore Ling Feng's energy, otherwise he would have to be weak for several days to fully recover. "Master, you finally woke up." That when Zifeng saw Ling Feng wake up, he flew over from Ling Feng's clothes and landed on Ling Feng's fingertips. Ling Feng touched Zifeng gently and said calmly, "Zifeng, you are not exposed, are you?" "No, when the master is sleeping, I am always attached to the master's clothes. Do others think I am just a piece of crystal?" "Someone else?" Ling Feng's eyelids twitched. "Who else?" "There are just a few young ladies." Zifeng blinked. "The guy who helped the master back found a few young ladies. They took off your clothes for you." Ling Feng opened the quilt and took a look, and sure enough he found that it was chilly underneath him. The lifestyle of wealthy people is really. Ling Feng shook his head and smiled bitterly. Just as he was about to retrieve his clothes from the bedside, he suddenly heard footsteps outside and quickly told Zifeng to hide them. Squeak! The door opened, and 4 pretty and lovely girls walked in from the outside. Seeing that Ling Feng had woken up, the first woman in green clothes immediately said happily, "Mr. Ling, you are finally up." Forehead. Ling Feng's expression was a little embarrassed. He was still naked. Seeing Ling Feng's blushing face, the woman in green clothes chuckled and said, "My name is Xiao He. Mr. Wengu ordered us to take care of the young master's daily life." No. Ling Feng waved his hand quickly, "I can do it myself." "Oh." Xiao He pursed his lips. "Okay then, the bath water and food and drinks are ready. If you need anything else, please just ask." "I know, you can go out first." Ling Feng's face turned red. Ever since he could remember, he had basically lived a life of wandering around with no fixed place to live, and he had never been served by anyone. Especially being served by so many beautiful maids. "Gee, the slaves are waiting outside." The young and beautiful maids pursed their lips and smiled coquettishly, but they did not dare to disobey Ling Feng, so they closed the door and retreated. Ling Feng shook his head and smiled bitterly. He couldn't bear such a beautiful blessing. Ling Feng spent the night without words as he practiced. Early the next morning, when Tingguang rushed over early to pick up Ling Feng and go to treat Yu Zhonglian, after Ling Feng's treatment. Although Yu Zhonglian still looked very old, his mental state had returned to the past, and he could even get out of bed and walk, and when Tingguang knew that Ling Feng was the successor of the medical saint, so he naturally looked at Ling Feng in a different light. This time Ling Feng could be said to have given him a big face. Mr. Lu Gu was now in front of him and he didn't even dare to speak loudly. After all, Ling Feng was invited back by Tingguang. "Ha, little miracle Dr. Ling, how were you last night?" That when Tingguang came to the west wing, he found that Ling Feng had already gotten up and was practicing swordsmanship in the courtyard. This is Ling Feng's daily homework. He has fallen behind in the past few days and finally got free today, so he naturally has to practice again. "You're quite a diligent kid." Tingguang saw Ling Feng's diligence and nodded secretly. No wonder this kid has made such huge progress in just 2 months. Talent is one thing, hard work is also essential. Seeing Tingguang flying down, Ling Feng quickly put away his sword and stood up, making a sword salute to Tingguang, "Senior one. He, you have practiced swordsmanship well." Tingguang patted Ling Feng on the shoulder and said with a smile, "You have made a great contribution this time. Our Xianxia sect will never treat you badly. If you need any benefits, just ask." It was the greatest benefit that the senior gave the moon spirit flower to the junior. Ling Feng said lightly. "Don't be proud of taking credit, don't be frightened by favor or disgrace. Your boy will definitely be a general in the future. The more Wen Tingguang looked at Ling Feng, the more he liked him, and he even had the urge to accept him as his disciple. However, looking at Yu Yunlan's attitude towards Ling Feng, maybe this little guy will become the new uncle of the Xianxia sect in the future. Senior is so complimentary. Ling Feng's face remained indifferent and he added, Senior took me to treat the sect master. Yes, I forgot about the business. Wen Tingguang chuckled and said, just follow me. Not long after, Ling Feng, led by Wen Tingguang, came to the waterside pavilion where Yu Zhonglian was resting. At this moment, in addition to Yu Zhonglian, the sect master's wife Honglian and Yu Yunlan were also in the room, waiting by the bed. The sect master's wife also held some official documents in her hands and slowly read them to Yu Zhonglian. It is really admirable that Yu Zhonglian is still worried about state affairs even though he is on his sickbed. However, Ling Feng shook his head, stepped forward, pressed the official document in the hands of the sect master's wife, frowned and scolded, Sect master, have you forgotten what you promised me? During this period, you should not worry about other things. It's not advisable to have too strong mood swings, otherwise even I won't be able to save myself. You kid. Wen Tingguang's eyelids twitched, thinking that this kid must be too wanton and dare to teach the sect master a lesson. Yu Yunlan was also startled and said quickly, Father, Ling Feng is also concerned about your health. Yu Zhonglian was not angry, but smiled and said, Haha, it's our fault. Honglian, please put the official document back. We won't read it until we recover from the illness. Honglian sighed softly. She knew Yu Zhonglian's temper best. Although he was a person who attached great importance to commitments, his loyalty to the empire was above all else. I hope that the sect master will do what he says, because even if I want to completely complete the vitality diagram for the sect master, it will take a very long process. At least within half a year, I hope that the sect master will not be too angry, otherwise it will be easy to break loss of life. Ling Feng said slowly. This sect understands. Yu Zhonglian had an inexplicable trust in this young man who brought him back from hell. Chapter 83 Regeneration Golden Needle. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Okay, then I will start repairing the vitality map for the sect leader. Ling Feng took a deep breath and said slowly, the sect master's previous vitality diagram has been damaged by 90%. If it were not for the powerful suppression of cultivation, I am afraid that it would be impossible to recover. However, even so, some special treasures are still needed. Make sure you survive this year, otherwise the life map will completely wither, and even I won't be able to bring the dead back. What treasures are needed? Honglian asked quickly. With the power of the Xianxia sect, the treasures of heaven and earth that are difficult for ordinary people to obtain are not a big problem for the Xianxia sect. 9 joints of lotus root. Ling Feng said lightly, only one of them is enough. 9 section lotus root for creation. Wen Tingguang on the side said, although this treasure is rare, I still have it in the treasure house of the Xianxia sect, but as far as I know, this lotus root for creation does not seem to increase longevity. Spirits of heaven and earth, boy Ling Feng, are you mistaken? Wen Tingguang thought to himself that he also had some medical skills. Since the sect master's vitality map was incomplete, he should use treasures that increase his lifespan to prolong his life. Senior Wen, I think you must have used many longevity-increasing elixirs before. Ling Feng asked lightly. Well, I did use it a lot. Wen Tingguang nodded. Then, is it useful? Forehead. Wen Tingguang was silent for a long time before looking at Ling Feng. Boy, what kind of medicine are you selling in your gourd? Pure medicine. Ling Feng smiled faintly. You kid. Although Wen Tingguang was a little confused, Ling Feng did make Yu Zhonglian's condition much better, which proved his medical skills. I'll get it for you right now. Wen Tingguang said, immediately turned around and walked out of the room, heading to the treasure house to get the medicine. Master Ling, why do you want to give your father good fortune lotus root? Yu Yunlan couldn't help but asked out of curiosity. Ling Feng said lightly, the lotus root of creation is not used to extend the life of your father, but to restore the vitality of his body. Then I will use the creation needle to stimulate the regeneration power of the lotus root, so as to repair it bit by bit. Your Majesty's vital picture. With my ability, it would take about 4 acupunctures on your father to completely complete the vitality map. The interval between each time is almost half a year. Ling Feng said slowly. I see. Yu Yunlan and her daughter both nodded. This Ling Feng was indeed no ordinary doctor. Besides the 9-section fortune lotus root, does Mr. Ling need anything else? Hong Lian said softly, as long as it can cure the sect master's disease, no matter what treasure it is, I will definitely find a way to get it. There is no need for the treasures of heaven and earth. Ling Feng shook his head and said calmly, but 90% of my medical skills are in acupuncture. As the saying goes, if a worker wants to do his job well, he must first sharpen his tools. If you wanted to restore the sect master's vitality, a very rare golden needle is needed. What golden needle? Yu Yunlan asked. Ling Feng took out a thin needle glowing with green light from his arms and said lightly, this kind of golden needle is called the Regeneration golden needle. This is a strange needle recorded in Tai Xian acupuncture created by the medical sage Ling Hanyang. This is the only regenerated golden needle that has been passed down to Ling Feng. This kind of regenerative golden needle can stimulate the body's regeneration power by piercing into some special acupoints of the human body. It is also the only way to repair the vitality map. In the whole world, only the medical saints of that time could create such a miraculous acupuncture method. However, if you want to fully exert the effect of the regenerated gold needles, you need to use more than 9 regenerated gold needles at the same time. Ling Feng only has 1, so the effect is naturally greatly reduced. This kind of regenerated golden needle is said to be made from the materials used to make the best treasures. With Ling Feng's own financial resources, even if he spent all his wealth, it would be impossible to create a second regeneration golden needle. However, with the financial resources of the Xianxia sect, it is not difficult to make 9 regenerative golden needles. Since it was for medical treatment, Ling Feng was not embarrassed to speak. Yu Yunlan took the golden needle from Ling Feng's hand, frowned, and carefully looked at the thin needle glowing with green light. With her eyesight, she couldn't recognize what material it was made of. It's strange, I have never seen such a golden needle before. Yu Yunlan said in disbelief. Ling Feng smiled faintly, took out a piece of yellowed cloth from his storage bag, and said lightly, this is how to make regenerated golden needles. If possible, I hope miss you can make 8 of these regenerated golden needles for me. Yu Yunlan took the formula and took a quick look at it, and was immediately stunned. Glory Moon Glow Stone, Heavy Silver Cold Iron, Green Pine Spirit Stone. These materials are basically materials used to make treasures. The value of this small golden needle is almost comparable to that of a top-quality treasure. 8 regenerated golden needles, aren't they 8 top-quality treasures? Yu Yunlan was not worried about money, but was surprised that this regenerated golden needle was so precious. Little did she know that this regenerative golden needle was a treasure of medicine. When combined with Tai Xian acupuncture, the effect it exerted was not far behind some of the miraculous medicines that live and die, flesh and bones. I got it back, boy, I got the 9-section lotus root back. At this time, when Tingguang had returned with the treasure, but this guy came and left in a hurry. Uncle Wen, there is one more thing that you may have to worry about. Yu Yunlan chuckled and handed over the formula for regenerating golden needles in his hand. What is this? When Tingguang took the cloth, took a closer look, and was immediately startled. The more he looked at it, the uglier his face became. What do you mean? Is it possible to create this kind of regenerated golden needle? When Tingguang's eyelids twitched wildly, the materials are not the most difficult to find. The most difficult thing is the craftsmanship required to create this kind of golden needle, which can only be created by a master-level caster. It is not an easy task to ask a master-level caster to do it. It will cost a lot of money, even exceeding the value of the materials. Well, you need 8 of these golden needles. Yu Yunlan nodded. 8 roots? When Tingguang almost jumped up and turned to look at Ling Feng. He couldn't laugh or cry in his heart. you kid, you are taking my Xianxia sect as the wrongdoer. Senior has misunderstood. To complete the vitality diagram for the sect master, this kind of regeneration golden needle is really needed. Having seen through his thoughts, Ling Feng's face did not turn red, his heart did not beat, and he remained calm. Anyway, I didn't lie. Alright, Mr. Wenj, just follow Mr. Ling's wishes. Honglian looked at Yu Zhonglian on the bed tenderly. As long as her husband could get better, no matter what the cost, it would be worth it. I know, I'm just joking with this kid. Of course I'll get what I want. Wen Tingguang smiled bitterly, looked back at Ling Feng, and said with a smile, boy, the medical expenses are really not cheap. Ling Feng looked serious and said calmly, Senior, I only need to prepare these regenerative golden needles within half a year. The next time I perform acupuncture, I can directly use the creation needle array, which can greatly shorten the recovery period of the sect master. I know. Wen Tingguang nodded. Yu Yunlan and her daughter didn't care about money anyway. He, an outsider, couldn't care less. Chapter 84 Rebirth. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Senior, take out the 9-section lotus root of creation. Ling Feng looked at Wen Tingguang and said lightly. Here. Wen Tingguang took out the 9-section lotus root and handed it to Ling Feng. Ling Feng nodded. Each segment of the 9-segment lotus root was about the size of a thumb. There were 9 segments in total. It was a very rare spiritual creature from heaven and earth. It contained the power of creation and could restore the vitality of the body. Because Yu Zhonglian's vitality has withered, his body has become aging, so it is impossible to restore his youth with drugs that increase longevity, and this fortune lotus root is the treasure that can provide the right medicine. Ling Feng gently broke off a section of lotus root, brought it to Yu Zhonglian's mouth, and said lightly, Sect Master, please hold the lotus root of creation in your mouth. When I use the acupuncture, I will draw the power of creation in the lotus root and let the entire body of the master. The body regains its former vitality. Yu Zhonglian nodded slightly, opened his mouth and took a section of the mask into his mouth. Well, then, please, Mrs. Sect Leader and Miss Yu, please step back 10 steps away. I hope there won't be any abnormality when applying the acupuncture. Ling Feng's expression was very serious. Treating illnesses and saving lives must not be careless. Repairing the vitality map is even more difficult. Ling Feng has been studying Tai Xian acupuncture for more than 10 years, but this is the first time he has used regenerative gold needles to repair the vitality map. Honglian and Yu Yunlan nodded and stepped aside, not daring to disturb him at all. Wen Tingguang narrowed his eyes and watched Ling Feng's every move. Medical Saint Ling Hanyang's Tai Xian acupuncture technique is unique in the world. It is not only famous in the Tianbai Empire, but also resounds throughout the eastern spiritual territory. There are even legends that even in the 100,000 mountains in southern Xinjiang, a powerful demon king contracted a strange disease and sent a dozen demon kings to invite Ling Hanyang to the 100,000 mountains. In the end, Ling Hanyang escaped unscathed and returned safely to the human kingdom. From this we can see how amazing Ling Hanyang's medical skills are. Being able to see a medical sage perform acupuncture is a supreme honor in itself. Then, I'm going to start. Ling Feng frowned, the expression on his face was extremely serious. Sect Master, please close your eyes. Ling Feng twisted the only regenerated golden needle, and with flying fingers, he grabbed a dozen more golden needles at once, controlled the golden needle with his true energy, and quickly pierced the acupuncture point on Yu Zhonglian's back. A dozen golden needles came out at once, and pierced Yu Zhonglian's body. A needle array was formed. The regenerated golden needle was at the core of the needle array. The other golden needles, like stars circling the moon, absorbed part of the weak regenerative power, followed the circulation of the 6 qi in Yu Zhonglian's body, and traveled around the limbs and bones. Ling Feng sighed lightly. If there were 9 regeneration golden needles, the effect would be 10 times better than now. Hiss! Wen Tingguang was amazed when he saw it, and his heart was filled with turmoil. In his opinion, the limit for a doctor to be able to administer 8 needles at once was the limit. Ling Feng seemed to have administered 10 needles at once just now. That speed, that precision, compared with him, the youngest Taoist doctor in the empire is simply not qualified to say that he can handle needles. As expected of a descendant of the medical saint, his horizons have been opened. When Tingguang's old face turned red, when he was young, he also had a dream to become a Taoist doctor, but unfortunately his level was limited. In the end, he recognized himself clearly, practiced hard, and finally achieved some success, but seeing Ling Feng's acupuncture skills today really made his blood boil. Yu Yunlan and her daughter were more concerned about Yu Zhonglian's condition. As for Ling Feng's acupuncture technique, because it was so fast, they couldn't even see clearly how Ling Feng performed it. Sect Master, be sure not to use your power to resist, otherwise the power of creation will be dispersed and the effect will be greatly reduced. Ling Feng warned in a deep voice. Yeah. Yu Zhonglian gritted his teeth and even trembled slightly. If it was pain, Yu Zhonglian would not say a word, but the feeling of the power of creation flowing through my whole body was extremely itchy, numb, and it was really unbearable. He was about to do some exercise, but Ling Feng saw his intention, so he had to grit his teeth and endure the itching, almost to the point of tears. This is a sign that his body has regained its vitality. His dry and aging body is regenerating muscle and blood, so he will naturally feel this itching. Creation, resurrection. Rebirth, rebirth. Ling Feng's expression was focused and his moves were like lightning. Yu Zhonglian's vitality map appeared in his mind. That extremely dilapidated picture of vitality was 90% incomplete, leaving only some shrunken veins, which looked withered. Repair. Repair. He held his breath and concentrated on repairing the vitality map, but he was going against the will of heaven and taking his life from the sky. In this process, you can't miss a step or a trace. If anything goes wrong, Yu Zhonglian's fragile tree of vitality may fall completely at any time. At that time, there will really be no way to save the day. Gradually, large beads of sweat rolled down Ling Feng's forehead. He didn't dare to relax at all. His forehead and back were covered with sweat. At the same time, his energy and spirit were also rapidly depleted. A trace of fatigue and weakness came to his mind, but he did not relax at all. The power of creation must be integrated into the trunk of the tree of vitality. This process was more difficult and torturous than Ling Feng imagined. In addition to feeling extremely itchy, Yu Zhonglian gradually felt that a subtle change had occurred in his body. He frowned slightly, as if the energy belonging to young people had returned to his aging body. Yu Yunlan bit her lower lip tightly and looked at the young man who was concentrating on treating her father. For some reason, she suddenly wanted to get to know this young man. This was something she had never thought about before, that she would actually want to get to know a man of her own age. Tick-tock. Tick-tock. Ling Feng's sweat beads rolled down to the ground in large drops. Because the room was very quiet, everyone could even hear the sound of the beads of sweat falling to the ground and breaking. Ling Feng's clothes were soaked with sweat, and his hands holding Jinshin even trembled slightly. However, his consciousness was very clear. As soon as his hands shook, he stopped. He did not continue to insert the needle until his arm regained stability. He never thought that he would reach such a state of near collapse due to treatment. Fix it. Fix it. Ling Feng could feel that all the main veins in Yu Zhonglian's vitality map had returned to the normal vitality of a normal person. The desired effect of his first acupuncture had been achieved. Okay, it worked. It finally worked. Ling Feng laughed, but he didn't realize that his body was so cold that he almost lost his temperature. His mind went blank, his vision went dark, and his body fell back heavily. Lose your strength. At this moment, Ling Feng was so weak that he didn't even have a trace of strength. Close your eyes and pass out. At the moment he fell, he vaguely felt that what he hit was not the cold and hard ground, but a gentle and soft embrace. There was a hint of intoxicating fragrance in the nose. He didn't even have time to take a greedy sip before he lost consciousness. He has reached the limit of overdraft. Thanks to Singmamu for your reward support. Thank you. Please vote and collect. Chapter 85, A Feast for the Eyes. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The moment Ling Feng fainted, it was Yu Yunlan who stepped forward to support him. Looking at this young man who was covered in sweat and whose face was as pale as paper, he felt inexplicably curious. What kind of person is he? She had never seen a doctor who treated people to the point where they even fainted. "Don't worry, he's fine." But Yu Zhonglian sat back on the bed, looked at Ling Feng, and said with a faint smile, "I'm just a little tired." At this moment, Yu Zhonglian's speech was no longer as weak as before, and he looked full of energy. Sect Master Yu." Hong Lian blinked her beautiful eyes, looked at Yu Zhonglian who was leaning on the bed, and said with surprise and joy, "Sect Master, your face and body are young again." Due to the damage to the vitality diagram, Yu Zhonglian's body was originally as skinny as those old people who were approaching their end of life. But now, his body has become plump again, and the muscles on his body are as white and tender as those of a newborn baby. "Yes, I have really recovered." Yu Zhonglian put his hands in front of his eyes. Although the muscles on his palms were still a little thin, they were no longer shriveled, but full of youthful vitality. A smile appeared on Yu Zhonglian's face. "It's really amazing. There is such a mysterious medical skill in the world. I feel that my body has improved a lot. Maybe it won't be long before I can continue practicing again." Yu Zhonglian looked up at Ling Feng and couldn't help but smile slightly when he saw that Yu Yunlan was still supporting Ling Feng. Ling Feng had saved his life, and with his medical skills, he was definitely qualified to become his son-in-law. "As long as my daughter likes it, it would not be bad to let Ling Feng be her son-in-law." Hong Lian and Yu Zhonglian were in perfect harmony. Seeing the smile on her husband's face, she looked back at Yu Yunlan and smiled. She is looking at Ling Feng more and more now. This Ling Feng is much better than the princes and grandsons of the imperial capital no matter what. However, after all, Yu Yunlan is a young girl who has not left the court. It is not a good thing to keep hugging a man. She immediately smiled lightly and said, "Lanner, Master Ling needs to rest now. You can follow Mr. Wenj and send him back to where he lives." "Bar." "Yeah." Yu Yunlan nodded quickly without thinking. "Haha. Wen Tingguang is a mature character." He laughed, stepped forward to take Ling Feng's body, and put it directly on his shoulders. He laughed and said, "Girl Lan, come with me." Yu Yunlan looked back at Yu Zhonglian, bit her lip and said, "Dad, then I will send Mr. Ling there and then come back to see you." "Go ahead." Yu Zhonglian waved his hand and said with a faint smile, "Just think of it as thanking this little friend Ling Feng on behalf of your father." "Yes." Yu Yunlan nodded heavily and immediately followed Wen Tingguang out of the room. My daughter is old and it's time to get married." Looking at Yu Yunlan's back, Yu Zhonglian couldn't help but smile. Hong Lian sat by the bed, covered Yu Zhonglian with the quilt, and said softly, "This young Master Ling is indeed good. The one who knows me is Madam." Yu Zhonglian reached out and grabbed Hong Lian's palm. A trace of tenderness flashed in his eyes. Madam Xianxia has been with me day and night these days. As long as the sect master can get better, everything will be worth it." Hong Lian leaned gently on Yu Zhonglian's shoulder, her heart filled with happiness. Ling Feng was unconscious for 5 days, and Yu Yunlan actually came to guard Ling Feng every day, and even she herself couldn't explain why. Perhaps it was really just to repay Ling Feng's great kindness in curing his father's strange disease. Of course, this is just Yu Yunlan's own opinion. To others, it's not that simple. At least, the charming maid Xiao has noticed that the young lady's attitude towards Ling Feng is completely different from that towards other men. "Miss, it's already the 5th day. This guy can really sleep." Xiao pursed her lips and said, "I don't know what kind of blessing this kid got in his previous life. Miss, you actually put down the promotion test of the school to take care of this guy. Boy. You girl." Yu Yunlan rolled her eyes at Xiao. "I didn't ask you to accompany me, so you are the only one who complains a lot." "Slightly." Xiao stuck out her tongue. "How can that happen? I am the lady's personal maid, so of course I have to stay with the lady." At this moment, Ling Feng suddenly opened his eyes, groaned, and found himself lying on a soft couch. "Ah, miss, Master Ling is awake." Xiao exclaimed when she saw Ling Feng open his eyes. A flash of joy flashed in Yu Yunlan's eyes, and she quickly stepped forward and said, "Master Ling, you are finally awake. Do you want to eat something?" I will immediately order my servants to do it for you. After all, Ling Feng was only in the qi condensation realm and had a mortal body. He had not eaten for 5 days, so he must be extremely hungry. Ling Feng's eyes gradually focused, and he was slightly surprised when he saw the beautiful face in front of him. The person accompanying him is actually Yu Yunlan. His eyes were a little dazed, looking straight at Yu Yunlan, which made Yu Yunlan's face get a little hot. Hey, Our Lady is asking you a question. Why are you looking at her like that? Xiao put her hands on her hips and glared at Ling Feng. Only then did Ling Feng react, waved his hand quickly and said, "No, I'm not hungry yet." Ah! Miss, this guy was in a coma for 5 days. When he woke up and took one look at Miss, he wasn't hungry anymore. It turns out that the ancients said that beauty is good for food. It's true. Xiao said in surprise. You're the only one who talks too much. Yu Yunlan glared at Xiao. Hurry up and ask someone to make some porridge and side dishes. Okay. Xiao had no choice but to leave as told, leaving only Ling Feng and Yu Yunlan in the room. So I've been in a coma for 5 days. Ling Feng pursed his lips and secretly wondered. Yu Yunlan was indeed very beautiful, and her beauty was delicious, but it couldn't fill her stomach. But she was clearly not hungry at all, and instead felt so energetic. Hee, master, it's me. This is all my fault. Zifeng's voice rang in his mind. Ah. Ling Feng was a little surprised and used his consciousness to communicate with Zifeng. Zifeng, what on earth is going on? Because I can share the devoured life with the master. As long as I am not hungry, master, you will not be hungry either. In the same way, as long as I do not die, master, you will not die either. Sharing life. Ling Feng's pupils shrank suddenly, and he was secretly surprised. He didn't know how many abilities Zifeng still had, but no matter what, I definitely made a lot of money this time. The origin of Zifeng is by no means simple. Thanks to Dianran, Xuanmen, and, for their reward support, thank you. Please add it to your favorites and vote. Chapter 86 to retain. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After a while, Xiao came over with some maids and some light porridge. Ling Feng couldn't help but twitch his index finger when he smelled the faint aroma. Speaking of which, the food of Xianxia sect is indeed a delicacy. When I and Duanwu Qingshan were at Shaozhu Peak, needless to say, Duanwu Qingshan's craftsmanship was just like cooking to produce arsenic. My level is just so and I can barely swallow it. Xiao brought over a night of porridge, sat unceremoniously on the edge of the bed, took a spoonful of it and brought it to Ling Feng's mouth. Eat it. Ling Feng was stunned for a moment, and just as he was about to speak, he heard the girls say, "Why, you still want my lady to come and feed you?" Ling Feng felt helpless and was too lazy to say anything, so he had to open his mouth and swallow the porridge. It has to be said that the chef of Xianxia school is really capable and can make a bowl of white porridge into an irresistible delicacy. Yeah, you kid, wake up. At some point, Wen Tingguang walked in from outside the door. The maids guarding the door quickly saluted and said in unison, "Mr. Wengu." Wen Tingguang waved his hand and strode into the room. He saw Ling Feng drinking porridge and said with a smile, "Boy, do you feel good?" Senior 1. Ling Feng cupped his hand slightly and was about to get out of bed. Okay, let's not have this set of red tape between you and me. You and I are also in love. Although we are not destined to be masters and apprentices, it is still okay to be close friends. How old am I to you? Just call me Brother Wen. Hey, Mr. Wenj, I really can't tell how much older you are than Mr. Ling, but you really know how to pretend to be young. That girl Xiao couldn't help teasing her again. You. Yu Yunlan shook his head. This girl is famous for her sharp teeth and sharp tongue. Fortunately, Mr. Wenj has a good temper. If it were Lu Hongzhang, I'm afraid Xiao would definitely be unable to eat and walk around. This girl is also smart and knows who can and cannot joke around. What do you mean by pretending to be young? I was originally in my prime. Wen Tingguang stepped forward and pulled Xiao away, who was feeding porridge, and said angrily, "How is it? How is your body recovering?" "What? When the time comes, you can use the Xianxia good fortune needle again, and the sect leader will be able to recover completely as soon as possible." "Well, this matter can't be rushed. I can only perform acupuncture for the sect leader once every 6 months, so Senior Wen just needs to prepare the 8 regenerated golden needles within half a year." Ling Feng said solemnly. "It takes half a year?" Wen Tingguang said anxiously, "Why don't you give me an acupuncture once a day? Then I can recover immediately." Ling Feng didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Senior Wen, first of all, the vitality map cannot be repaired frequently. Secondly, if you really do that, how many times do you think I can survive? Then if you really use the life needle once a day, Yu Zhonglian might recover faster, but he might have died." When Tingguang thought of Ling Feng giving Yu Zhonglian an acupuncture and being unconscious for 5 days, he immediately understood and slapped his forehead. "I didn't think enough about it, hee. Senior, if you want the sect master to recover as soon as possible, the key is those 8 golden regeneration needles. Only by gathering 9 golden regeneration needles can I use the real regeneration needle array, and the treatment effect will be much improved." Ling Feng paused and continued, "Of course, this way, the load will be much lighter for me. I have already asked the craftsman of Xuanji Hall to handle this matter. It will definitely be completed within half a year." Wen Tingguang thought for a while and then said, "Otherwise, before the sect leader fully recovers, you can stay in our Xianxia sect first. I think the sect leader will not be stingy with the cultivation resources of the Xianxia sect. You are definitely better in our Xianxia sect. The training conditions obtained in Wenxian sect are 10 times, 100 times better." That the reason why Wen Tingguang retained Ling Feng was because he was worried that if Ling Feng left the Xianxia sect and encountered any accident, who would he turn to treat the sect master's illness? Secondly, I really don't want to waste a talent. The resources that a small sect like the Wenxian sect can provide to Ling Feng are just a drop in the bucket compared to the Xianxia sect. I'm afraid not. Ling Feng shook his head. My master is still asking the immortal sect. This. When Tingguang frowned, he had good intentions, but Xiao couldn't help but said, Master Ling, you are really stubborn. Your master is such a big man, and he is not a 3-year-old child. Besides, you will have to leave your master's side one day to go out for training. Now it's just an experience, and I'm not asking you to switch to another faction. Xiao, don't be rude. Yu Yunlan quickly grabbed Xiao and smiled apologetically at Ling Feng. Master Ling, is it because of Master Ling's injuries, that the last time he went to ask the immortal sect, Duanwu Qingshan said that he was actually Ling Feng's patient? Master's condition is no longer harmful. Ling Feng said calmly, but the next period of time will be a very important moment for my master. During this time, I must stay with him. That the agreement to fight side by side with Duanwu Qingshan is a promise made by a disciple to his master, and it is also a promise between men. He could indeed use the power of the Xianxia sect to suppress Lin Sanlang, but that was not what Duanwu Qingshan needed. He must avenge his wife and daughter by himself. I understand. When Tingguang nodded, you really value love and justice. Well, in that case, I won't force you anymore. If you want to leave any time, tell me and I'll give you a ride. When Tingguang patted Ling Feng on the shoulder and smiled lightly. Then it's Senior Lao. Ling Feng knew the speed gap between himself and Wen Tingguang. It would take Wen Tingguang 3 days to travel at full speed, and he was afraid that he might not be able to return to the sect in 30 days. By the way, the sect master said that this life-saving favor must be rewarded heavily. I can take you to the treasure house of our Xianxia sect to have a look. You can choose some treasures. As long as they are not too precious, I can decide to give it to you. Then thank you for your kindness, master. Ling Feng was not polite. The treasure trove of the Xianxia sect is naturally full of rare treasures. It would be too hypocritical to say that Ling Feng is not tempted at all. Although he killed many sect disciples and Xianxia in the great wilderness mountains and made some money, it had absolutely nothing to do with the word rich. The Xianxia sect is not an ordinary rich person. There is nothing wrong with treating the Xianxia sect leader with all his heart and receiving the remuneration he deserves. Yu Yunlan pursed her lips, gritted her silver teeth and said, Uncle Wan, then I'll accompany Mr. Ling to choose. Wen Tingguang smiled bitterly in his heart. Originally, if Ling Feng was allowed to choose by himself, he might not be able to choose any good treasures based on his vision alone. But when Yu Yunlan intervened, the girl turned her elbow outwards, and the sky I'm afraid Pai will lose money. Okay, if I say I won't let you go, your little aunt will still leave honestly. When Tingguang knew Yu Yunlan's temperament very well, shook his head and smiled, and said, Ling Feng boy, can you get out of bed now? Junior's body is fine. Ling Feng jumped out of bed. After 5 days of deep sleep, his cultivation level had even slightly increased, reaching the middle stage of the 10th stage of qi condensation. Chapter 87 Treasure Pavilion, Spiritual Medicine Garden. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Not long after, under the leadership of Wen Tingguang, a group of people came to the treasure house of the Xianxia sect. This is an unusually majestic hall. The front door is heavily guarded. It is said that there are 7,749 killing formations guarding it. If there is no access order, even a strong man like Wen Tingguang can break in without permission. There is only one way to die. Boy Ling Feng, you can choose the treasures on the first floor as you please. If you want to enter the second floor, you must tell me and let me take you up. Wen Tingguang reminded carefully. The things on the second floor are better than the first floor. Ling Feng's eyes lit up and he stared at Wen Tingguang. Of course it's better. Wen Tingguang nodded and said, but your realm is too far behind. Generally speaking, things on the second level can only be used if you are promoted to the Huayuan realm and a body of true energy is transformed into vitality. I understand, then I will just choose from the first level. Ling Feng nodded slightly. No matter how good the treasure is, it is just useless if it is not used. After a while, Ling Feng selected a low-grade treasure-level sword from the first-level treasure house. His Mo Yuan sword had been scrapped when he was in Luofeng Canyon, and the one he got from Lin Yinin was firstly, I am not good at using the soft sword. Secondly, this thing is not visible to the light and cannot be taken out easily. On the other hand, Lin Yinin's precious soft armor is now worn on Ling Feng's body. Anyway, it is usually invisible when worn inside. Boy Ling Feng, your eyesight is not bad. Although this sword is only a low-grade treasure, it is a rare wind and fire dual-attribute treasure called Red Fire Golden Wind. If it is in the hands of a fellow wind and fire warrior, almost as powerful as a middle-grade treasure. Ling Feng nodded. Because he swallowed the Tianyang red blood fruit, his true energy always had a hint of domineering and blazing fire attribute. This red fire golden wind sword is just right for me. I said, Mr. Ling, after shopping around a lot, you just picked a sword. Xiao saw that Ling Feng only chose one sword, and secretly thought that this guy was a bit too kind. When Tingguang also felt that Ling Feng was being too polite, and said with a smile, boy, our Xianxia sect is not worried about a few treasures, so you can just grab 10 or 8 of them, don't be restrained. Ling Feng shook his head, all I need is a sword. Well, Senior also knows that I am a healer. I wonder if Senior can take me to the spiritual medicine garden. Oh. When Tingguang suddenly realized, so this is your idea. That's easy to say. When Tingguang nodded immediately. As a doctor, he is naturally most interested in spiritual herbs and elixirs, especially the elixir garden of Xianxia sect, which has many rare varieties that cannot be seen outside. Then let me lead the way, Senior. Ling Feng said with a faint smile. Yu Yunlan on the side blinked her bright eyes, thinking highly of Ling Feng even more. After a while, when Tingguang led a few people out of the Zhenbao Pavilion and followed a bluestone path to a place with beautiful mountains and rivers, this is the elixir garden of Xianxia sect. As soon as he walked into the elixir garden, a strong spiritual energy hit his nose, as if he had entered a paradise. In the elixir garden, you can faintly see some disciples. Scattered everywhere, bending over to catch insects and weeds. Everywhere in the elixir garden, there are rare flowers and plants planted. Ling Feng looked around and was secretly surprised. Many of the elixirs here were recorded in my grandfather's medical books, but I have never seen them before. For a doctor, seeing so many rare products is like being in heaven. Happiness. How about it? Our Xianxia sect's elixir garden is not bad. That when Tingguang saw Ling Feng's appearance, he immediately laughed and said, "These exotic flowers and herbs are all treasures transplanted from all over the empire, not just the Tianbai Empire, but also the western wilderness, southern Xinjiang, and northern desert. In Dongdao, some people try to purchase flower seeds for rare varieties from various regions. After thousands of years of cultivation, the elixir garden has become the prosperous scene it is today." Ling Feng nodded secretly in his heart. Many of the varieties here were indeed not something that the Tianbai Empire could grow. It would take a lot of effort to cultivate them. "Boy Ling Feng, if you like any kind of spiritual flowers or herbs, just tell me and I can make the decision to give you some." Tingguang chuckled. "You idiot, these spiritual flowers and elixirs are good, but if you don't know how to refine the elixirs, it won't be a waste." Xiao pursed her lips and couldn't help but muttered. "How do you know that I can't refine elixirs?" Yu Yunlan rolled her eyes at Xiao. "My guess is, how old is he? He has to learn medical skills and practice cultivation. If he can make alchemy, he will not let those alchemists live." Xiao stuck out her tongue and argued. These words fell in Ling Feng's ears, and he was secretly amused. This was a layman's misunderstanding. The so-called elixirs and elixirs mean that elixirs and medicines are inseparable. Only those mediocre doctors don't know how to make alchemy. Although I don't dare to say how high my attainments in alchemy are, at least I'm at a certain level. At this moment, an old man wearing a purple robe walked out of a palace next to the medicine garden, followed by some young men and women. When he saw Tingguang, he immediately walked up to him and bowed. He saluted and said, "Join the Gu, Mr. Young Lady." "It turns out it's Elderly." Tingguang nodded. Seeing Elderly followed by more than 20 young disciples, he thought for a moment, and suddenly his eyes lit up, and he suddenly realized, oh, it turns out that today is a picking competition in the medicine garden. Day. Yes, these disciples are all good young people who have been assigned to the spiritual medicine garden this time. Elderly nodded and smiled. "It's interesting." A trace of amusement flashed in Ting's eyes. He looked back at Ling Feng and said with a smile, "Elderly, I have a kid here who can also know some spiritual flowers and herbs. Otherwise, you can let him also participate in the competition with the disciples you selected?" This. Elderly glanced at Ling Feng. He was just an ordinary medicine garden elder, not a senior member of the sect. Therefore, he didn't even know about the sect leader's illness. Naturally, he didn't know that Ling Feng had given any information to the sect. Mainly treats illnesses, therefore, he only thought that Ling Feng was Tingguang's nephew, who accompanied Yu Yunlan to the medicine garden for a stroll. Before Elderly could speak, a young man in red robes behind him stepped forward and said, "Elder, just agree to it." As the red-robed young man spoke, he glanced at Ling Feng provocatively. It was obvious that he should be the most skilled person among this group of medicine garden disciples. Okay. Elderly obviously had great confidence in the young man in red robe. He nodded and said with a smile, "Since Mr. Gu has spoken, there is no harm in adding this little brother." Ling Feng looked confused. What was going on? Why did he participate in some medicine garden picking competition out of nowhere? "Hey, kid, you can just pick the spiritual flowers and herbs that you think are the best. As long as you choose them, I can make the decision and give them all to you." Tingguang chuckled and lowered his voice, "Don't say that I don't take care of you. If you can get first place in the competition, you will have the opportunity to get rewards of martial arts and martial arts." It turned out that Ling Feng was not a disciple of the Xianxia sect after all. Even if Tingguang wanted to give Ling Feng some guidance, he could not make an exception due to the sect rules, but if Ling Feng can win the distant picking competition, according to the rules, he can be rewarded with a cultivation technique. Needless to say, Ling Feng's talent was needless to say, but practicing Wen Tingguang's inferior skills like that of the Wenxian sect really made Wen Tingguang feel that his talent was a waste. Now that he had this opportunity, Wen Tingguang started to think about it. P.S. Thanks to Chen Hongli, Su Yingfeng's reward support. Thank you. Please vote, please collect. Chapter 88. Are you considered a man? You are listening at novelfull.audio. I see. Ling Feng is not a fool. How could he not know that Wen Tingguang was deliberately looking for an opportunity to teach him the profound skills of the Xianxia sect? He was secretly grateful in his heart, looked at Wen Tingguang deeply, and nodded. Of course, it is not so easy to obtain the skills of the Xianxia sect. At least you have to win the competition of picking in the medicine garden first. The rules of this competition are very simple, and it is naturally a competition to identify the ability of spiritual flowers and herbs. Those disciples were newly assigned to the spiritual medicine garden, and they also didn't know which area was planted with which spiritual medicine, so although Ling Feng joined later, it was relatively fair. However, Ling Feng got this opportunity directly without any selection, which made many disciples full of hostility and disdain for Ling Feng. Isn't it just a backdoor with connections? You will lose face in a while. Ling Feng completely ignored those eyes and shrugged indifferently. Anyway, it's all about ability. If you don't accept it, just use your level of identifying spiritual flowers and herbs to defeat me. Okay, the medicine garden picking competition starts now. Everyone has half an hour. There's no need to be impatient. Of course, don't waste too much time on one kind of spiritual herbs. Everyone can collect 5 kinds of spiritual flowers and herbs. The one with the highest comprehensive quality will win. Considering that Ling Feng joined in temporarily, Elderly repeated the rules again. As soon as the voice fell, all the disciples rushed into the medicine garden. Before rushing into the medicine garden, the red-robed boy cast a provocative look at Ling Feng. Ling Feng raised his eyebrows and didn't care. Instead, he turned back to Wen Tingguang and said, "Senior Wen, then I'll go in." "Thank you, Senior." "Hee, the opportunity is in your hands. It depends on you to fight for it." Wen Tingguang had a smile on his lips. This kid is quite smart and saw through his thoughts at once. Ling Feng took a deep breath, jumped, and also rushed into the medicine garden. "Uncle Wen, you are really good to Mr. Ling." Yu Yunlan obviously heard what Wen Tingguang said to Ling Feng. "Hee, who made me get along with him?" Wen Tingguang turned around and glared at Yu Yunlan. "You little girl, am I not good to you?" Okay, Uncle Wen is the best." Yu Yunlan smiled, looking at Ling Feng's back, and gradually disappeared into the depths of the medicine garden. The spiritual medicine garden of the Xianxia sect covers an area of thousands of hectares. Different magic arrays are used to simulate the environment and temperature of various regions to create the most suitable growth conditions for those spiritual flowers and herbs. No wonder it takes half an hour to pick a medicine. This medicine garden is really scary. Ling Feng took a deep breath. Facing so many spiritual flowers and herbs, it does require a certain strategy to select the best. After a while, Ling Feng walked to an area filled with medicinal fragrance and stopped. He smelled a very rare fragrance, so he was somewhat sure that there would be extremely precious spiritual medicine here. In the medicine field in front, Ling Feng saw a thin girl about 16 or 17 years old, weeding in the medicine field. This girl was not a formal medicine garden disciple, but a low-status errand disciple. These errand disciples did not have high cultivation talents, and their family backgrounds were not very good, so even though they joined the Xianxia sect, they could only do some errand work. The girl looked very shy. When she saw Ling Feng appear, she lowered her head and did not dare to look at Ling Feng more. At this time, another medicine garden disciple also came here. Seeing Ling Feng was also here, he could not help but snorted coldly. He saw that Ling Feng was just a Qi condensation realm warrior, and he was even more disdainful in his heart. "Waste, get out. Don't hinder me from picking herbs." The medicine garden disciple knew that Ling Feng was brought by Wen Tingguang, so he could not attack him, so he took out his anger on the errand disciple who was weeding and kicked him directly. Ling Feng frowned. This disciple from the medicine garden seemed to be scolding the errand disciple, but in fact, he was making things difficult for himself. The errant disciple was so thin that if he was kicked by him, he would be half dead. Although Ling Feng was not a kind-hearted person, he did not want to see others being angered because of him, and he would not stand by and watch them die. With a flash of his figure, Ling Feng unfolded his free and unrestrained sword steps and rushed directly to the medicine garden disciple. He raised his leg to block the medicine garden disciple's kick and knocked him back a few steps. "If you have anything to say, just come to me." Ling Feng stared at the disciple, a cold light flashed in his eyes. "Only cowards will get pleasure from bullying the weak. And you are an out-and-out coward." "What did you say?" Wu Pingji's forehead was throbbing with veins, and he pointed his finger at Ling Feng's nose and cursed, "Boy, who do you think you are? If it weren't for the relationship with Elder One, do you believe that this young master can beat you to a pulp right now?" "Elder One?" Ling Feng smiled coldly. "Then don't worry, I have nothing to do with Senior One. You don't have to worry about anything because of him. If you want to fight here, I will accompany you to the end." "You!" Wu Pingji clenched his fist and grinned. "A mere waste in the condensation realm dares to stand up for a chore disciple here, waste defending waste. Ha ha ha, it's really interesting." Ling Feng stood with his hands behind his back, not angry at all. Feng Qingyun said calmly, "Really? I'm afraid you are worse than trash. This medicine garden disciple is indeed a warrior in the pulse condensation realm, but is the pulse condensation realm very strong? More than one pulse condensing realm person died in Ling Feng's hands. It's ridiculous." Wu Pingji's eyes turned cold. He was at the second level of the pulse condensation realm, but who was he? He dared to say that he was not even as good as trash. "You good for nothing, I'm going to let you have a long memory today. You can cry and complain to Mr. Wen Go later. Remember, my name is Wu Pingji. If you want to file a complaint, just go ahead." Wu Pingji was also a bit cautious, knowing that using this provoking method would make Ling Feng not talk about the beating he received because of his pride as a man. "I hope some people won't cry and go to their elders for a while." Ling Feng met Wu Pingji's gaze, tit for tat, not retreating at all. "Don't fight, don't fight." Although the handyman disciple was trembling with fear, he still rushed forward, hugged Wu Pingji's thigh, and begged for mercy. "Brother, don't fight, please don't fight." She was grateful to Ling Feng for standing up for her, but she didn't want to see Ling Feng get hurt because of her. "Who is your senior brother? You are just a lowly handyman." Wu Pingji's face twisted and looked extremely ferocious. He kicked the handyman disciple out fiercely and stared at Ling Feng coldly. Grinning, "Next, it's your turn. Are you considered a man if you attack a weak and defenseless woman?" Ling Feng clenched his fists and felt a strong murderous intention in his chest. "Damn this scumbag. P.S. Thank you very much, Guor, for your reward support, thank you." Chapter 89. Only 3 days left to survive. You are listening at novelfull.audio. He's just a lowly handyman disciple. I can beat him whenever I want and kick him whenever I want. Wu Pingji laughed ferociously. "In this world, the weak eat the strong, and strength is the most important thing. What qualifications do you, a loser, have to chirp here?" As he said that, Wu Pingji's figure flashed and he stepped forward. The Jinqi in his body surged and he punched Ling Feng fiercely. Ling Feng frowned. Wu Pingji's face was simply disgusting. "You are right, the weak eat the strong, and strength is the most important." Ling Feng fixed his cold eyes on Wu Pingji, with a murderous intent flashing in his eyes. "And you are the weak one, that the divine patterns of heaven are condensed," and Wu Pingji's movement and boxing skills are completely in Ling Feng's mind, and he knows them like the back of his hand. Taking one step forward, Ling Feng activated the 9-level C suppressing fist, aiming at Wu Pingji's weak point and launching an attack. At this moment, Ling Biting heard an angry scolding from behind, and saw a square-faced man in black attire, leaping forward and appearing between the two of them with an angry look on his face. "Humph! Who allowed you to fight in the elixir garden?" The square-faced man had a gloomy look on his face, and he released an extremely astonishing aura, which immediately forced both Ling Feng and Wu Pingji several steps back. the handyman disciple who was thrown aside quickly struggled to kneel on the ground and said respectfully, "Greetings to Master Yuan." "Master Yuan?" Wu Pingji's eyelids twitched. Although he was a new disciple assigned to the spiritual medicine garden, it was impossible that he had not heard of Master Yuan's name. This Master Yuan's name is Yuan Xianxia, and he is a third-grade alchemist in the spiritual medicine garden. Being a third-grade alchemist is not that great. However, Yuan Xianxia's alchemy attainments are far behind compared to his martial arts attainments. Generally speaking, alchemists focus on refining alchemy and may be weaker in martial arts, but this guy is just the opposite. He has a violent personality and is a complete cruel person. Therefore, none of the disciples under the jurisdiction of the spiritual medicine garden were as afraid of Yuan Xianxia, the first elder of the spiritual medicine garden. Wu Pingji's expression changed, and he quickly stepped forward to salute. "Disciple Wu Pingji, I have met Master Yuan." "Humph, don't do this to me." Yuan Xianxia glared at Wu Pingji. "Did you hurt my handyman disciple?" What? Wu Pingji was shocked. Your handyman disciple." "Humph, get out of here." Yuan Xianxia's eyes were as cold as water. "If I see you in the elixir garden tomorrow, you will be prepared to become disabled." "Master Yuan, misunderstanding, this is a misunderstanding." Wu Pingji quickly knelt down in front of Yuan Xianxia. Yuan Xianxia clearly wanted to drive him out of the elixir garden. According to the rules of the Xianxia sect, if the disciples assigned to various departments are kicked out, it is equivalent to being expelled from the Xianxia sect. Although the Wu Pingji family has some power, it has spent a lot of money to get such a lucrative position as a disciple of the medicine garden. If he was driven away now, all the hard work he had put in before would be in vain. Misunderstanding? Yuan Xianxia looked at the thin girl and asked in a deep voice, "Little girl, let me ask you, is this a misunderstanding?" Chen Sisi lowered her head and said nothing, but she still shook her head to show that it was not a misunderstanding. "Did you see it?" Yuan Xianxia's eyes narrowed and he stared at Wu Pingji again. "You can get out now, I will give you 3 breaths. Tell me to get out." Wu Pingzi clenched his fists, knowing that there would be no chance of improvement. Instead, he emboldened himself, stood up suddenly, pointed at Yuan Xianxia's nose and cursed, "Do you even know who I am?" Crack! There was a crisp sound of fracture, and Yuan Xianxia broke one of Wu Pingji's arms without even thinking. "I don't care who you are. You deserve it." Ling Feng felt secretly happy in his heart. Evil people will be tortured by ruthless people. However, he was not prepared to let go of Wu Pingji so easily. He collected his mind and communicated with Zifeng. "Zifeng, your ability to swallow life can be accurately controlled to allow the other party to live as long as you want." "What do you mean?" Zifeng's childish voice sounded in his mind. "I want this guy to only have the last 3 days of his life left." Ling Feng's eyes turned cold. Within 3 days, Wu Pingji quickly aged, and then watched his vitality slip away little by little. "This is too simple." Zifeng immediately smiled and said, "Master, that means I can start dinner." "Well, you can start dinner." Ling Feng nodded. "Go ahead, leave him only 3 days to live." "Great, it's finally time to eat." Zifeng cheered, then flapped his wings and flew towards Wu Pingji. In the elixir garden, there are many small insects of all kinds. Zifeng flies close to the spiritual flowers and grass on the ground, and no one can notice them at all. Wu Pingji had one of his arms broken off by Yuan Xianxia. He lost his temper and had a look of depression on his face, so he had no choice but to leave angrily. He suddenly felt as if his calf was bitten by something, and then he felt very tired, as if he had aged 10 years all of a sudden. "Damn it, even you bastards dare to provoke this young master." Wu Pingji suppressed the anger in his heart, thinking that after returning to the family, he must find out Ling Feng's identity so that he would have no peace. So tired, the next moment, Wu Pingji felt that his physical strength was rapidly draining away, and even breathing became a little laborious. He is obviously a young man in his early 20s, and his cultivation has reached the pulse condensation realm, and his physical strength is far beyond that of ordinary people. How could he be so exhausted for no reason? It was obviously just an arm that was broken off. How did he know that he only had 3 days left in his life? After a while, Zifeng had a full meal, flew back to Ling Feng, and said with a smile, "Master, I have absorbed more than 80 years of longevity this time. It turns out that you can really swallow human life quickly." Ling Feng had only guessed before, but he never expected that Zifeng's ability was so incredible. "No, it's just that the guy just now was too weak. If I met a guy at the previous level, Yu Zhonglian, it would take me at least a few years to drain his vitality. But after I evolve, it can get faster." "Evolve?" Ling Feng touched the bridge of his nose and saw that Yuan Xianxia had turned his attention to himself. He quickly told Zifeng to hide, bowed his hands to Yuan Xianxia and said, "This junior has met Master Yuan." "Humph." Yuan Xianxia's face remained cold, he just glanced at Ling Feng and then strode towards the handyman disciple Xianxia. "How's it going, little girl, are you okay?" Yuan Xianxia knelt down and looked at Xianxia, and couldn't help but sigh. He also came from a poor background and worked his way up from a handyman disciple, so he couldn't stand those family members bullying the weak. "It's okay, no problem." Xianxia shook her head quickly. She had obviously heard of Yuan Xianxia's evil reputation and was a little afraid of him. Ling Feng saw that although Yuan Xianxia looked ruthless on the surface, he was actually a good person. "Senior, this girl's left leg should be fractured and needs to be treated quickly, otherwise she may become lame in the future." Ling Feng stepped forward. "This junior has some medical skills and should be able to help." Chapter 90 Purple Spirit Crystal. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Do you have some knowledge of medical skills? Yuan Xianxia looked back at Ling Feng and said calmly, "Okay, you can do it." With that said, Yuan Xianxia slowly stood up and stood aside. It can be said that alchemists and Taoist doctors complement each other, and elixirs and medicines are inseparable. However, as the saying goes, there are specialties in medicine. Ordinary alchemists only need to understand some simple medical principles, while Taoist doctors only need to roughly master some fire control skills and be able to refine ordinary pills. Of course, the truly top alchemist must be a Taoist doctor. A truly top Taoist doctor must also be an alchemist. For example, Ling Hanyang, the original medical sage, was worthy of the name of the medical sage because he was both expert in medicine and alchemy. Ling Feng walked up to Xianxia, squatted down slowly, and said warmly, "Don't worry, you'll be fine soon." Xianxia lowered her head. She was very introverted and even had low self-esteem, so she didn't dare to look up at Ling Feng. "Is it because you feel that your status is humble, that's why you feel so inferior?" When Ling Feng spoke, his hands had quietly grabbed Xianxia's calf. Xianxia was obviously attracted by Ling Feng's topic. She bit her lip and said in a mosquito-like voice, "I'm just a handyman." "So what if you are a handyman? If you think that you are only qualified to be a handyman in your life, then you will always be a handyman." Ling Feng stared at Xianxia and said in a deep voice, "Look up, you are a kind girl, you are much better than many people." That when Wu Pingji was about to attack him, the thin girl did not run away quietly, but chose to come up and hold Wu Pingji to give herself a chance to escape, although she was strong enough to crush Wu Pingji. This approach seemed ridiculous, but she didn't know it. Her courage and kindness made Ling Feng feel that he not only needed to heal her trauma, but also her heart. Yuan Xianxia on the side couldn't help but clenched his fists when he heard Ling Feng's words. He felt inexplicably excited in his heart, and even couldn't help but want to cheer loudly for him. "Okay, but what about the handyman? Handymen can still rise." "Really?" Xianxia finally raised her head, met Ling Feng's eyes, and immediately lowered her head shyly. "Of course it's true." Ling Feng smiled bitterly, compared to that bitch who tried her best, even at the expense of a pair of eyes, but betrayed and hurt herself severely in the end. Xianxia is already 1,000 times, 10,000 times better. Xianxia bit her lip and raised her head again. "Thank you, you are the first person to praise me." This time, Ling Feng finally saw Xianxia's appearance clearly. She couldn't be said to be very beautiful, but she was also quite delicate. She was a beautiful little girl. "What's your name?" Ling Feng asked lightly. My name is Xianxia." that with a cry of surprise, Ling Feng had already grabbed her calf and reconnected the fractured area for her. Immediately, Ling Feng took out another row of golden needles, struck a few needles quickly with lightning speed, exhaled slowly, and said with a smile, "Okay, stand up and take a walk." Xianxia nodded and stood up slowly. As expected, her calf no longer hurt at all and she could walk without any discomfort. When Yuan Xianxia saw this scene, he couldn't help but his eyelids twitched wildly. As the saying goes, it takes 100 days to break the muscles and bones. In his opinion, Xianxia's injury just now, even if the bones are reattached, he may need to rest for a while before he can walk normally. But Ling Feng randomly injected a few needles, and everything was cured. "Boy, do you think you know a little bit about medical skills?" Yuan Xianxia sighed. "If this person only knows a little about medical skills, I am afraid that under Taoist medicine, those ordinary doctors may not dare to say that they understand medical skills. And I am so half-assed that I am embarrassed to say that I have read medical books. There is no end to learning. Who dares to say that he is truly proficient in medical skills?" Ling Feng smiled humbly and saluted Yuan Xianxia with a cupped fist. "Junior has to go collect medicine, so I won't delay here anymore. Farewell." Just when Ling Feng was about to fly away, it was Xianxia who grabbed Ling Feng's sleeve, leaned into his ear, lowered her voice, and said softly, "Brother, are you participating in a medicine garden picking competition? 70 feet away from the southeast of this medicinal field, there is a very rare elixir." "Oh." Ling Feng was stunned for a moment and couldn't help but turn to look at Yuan Xianxia aside. "This guy seems to be one of the managers of the elixir garden, right?" I suddenly remembered that there is something else. With Yuan Xianxia's hearing ability, it was naturally impossible not to hear Xianxia's voice. This was simply an act similar to cheating, however. He didn't intend to care about it, and instead left directly with an excuse. "By the way, kid, what's your name?" Yuan Xianxia was about to fly away, but looked back at Ling Feng. "This junior is called Ling Feng." "Ling Feng, right? He, I remember you." Yuan Xianxia nodded, his figure flashed, and disappeared without a trace in an instant. Ling Feng curled his lips and looked back at Xianxia. Because Xianxia was so close, he almost accidentally kissed her cheek. Suddenly, Xianxia's pretty face turned red. She quickly pointed to the southeast, gritted her teeth and said, "There may be a purple spirit crystal there." After saying that, he immediately covered his face and left as if running away. Purple spirit crystal. Ling Feng touched the bridge of his nose, but a turmoil arose in his heart. If it is really purple spirit crystal, it can indeed be called a peerless elixir that beats all treasures. Just listening to the name, it doesn't seem like a magical flower or magical herb, but it is indeed a kind of magical medicine. Purple spirit crystal is actually a crystal that mutated from the purple insect fruit. Because this crystal is in a very unstable state, its existence time is very short. After it is formed, it can only exist for more than an hour before it becomes angry. Transform, disperse into the aura of heaven and earth, and return to nature. The purple insect fruit is already a very rare elixir, and the purple spirit crystal that is mutated from the purple insect fruit is even more difficult to find. Since Xianxia said there might be purple spirit crystal there, she must have seen purple spirit crystal within an hour. Thinking of this, Ling Feng immediately felt excited in his heart, not only because of the medicine garden picking competition, but also because of the purple spirit crystal, a treasure that every Taoist doctor strives for. This is a precious medicine that can be used to enhance the origin of the soul. The reason why Taoist doctors can perceive the vitality map of the human body and the reason why they can control the 6 qi of the human body are inseparable from their own soul-sensing power. The stronger the soul power, the more important it is for the success of a Taoist doctor. This is why Ling Feng can become a doctor with superb medical skills after obtaining Tai Xian acupuncture technique. His grandfather Ling Kuan has also read the first chapter of Tai Xian acupuncture technique, and his medical skills are just average. "Thank you, Xianxia." Ling Feng looked at Xianxia's back and smiled gratefully, hoping that when he sees this girl in the future, she can become cheerful and confident. Immediately, Ling Feng gathered his mind, put aside distracting thoughts, and rushed towards the direction pointed by Xianxia. "P.S. Thank you, Chen Hongli, for your reward support. Thank you boss, please collect it and vote.